Where's Steve? It should be.
I would. What year did they break ground? 58?
They broke ground.
Is that 58 then?
57.
Well, maybe.
No, wait, it was 58. It was 58.
Because we moved in 68.
That's true, but the cornerstone laying was November of 59.
59. So did we break ground?
Yeah, before that in July. No, groundbreaking was in the summer.
Year before?
The summer.
Summer of 59.
I think so, yeah.
59?
You can go look outside in that case. I'll tell you.
Because we actually had our first high housing service here in 61.
Are you sitting in either corner?
No. And Mark became senior rabbi in 1880.
Correct. First came here in 76 as assistant, 78 as, no.
Yeah, I think that's
Yes,
right.
associate rabbi in 78 and senior rabbi in 1980.
Yeah.
When did they start doing
Early 59. 14 probably confirmation. About 145.
Good Yontif, everyone. Shana Tova, Chag Sameach. Encourage you all to come on in and find your seats. If you haven't had a chance yet, grab a machzor on your way in. Hope you're relatively dry. Evidently so, I guess. Welcoming those of you joining us live here in the Offit Auditorium for Kol Nidre services. Those joining us online tonight, welcoming you as well. And for those joining us from parts far away, welcoming you. And this is Bethel Congregation in Baltimore. Wishing you the very best for a sweet year. We'll start tonight together reading in English on page 203 of our Machzorim. Far left column, a meditation before Yom Kippur. Page 203, far left column. And let's read together. Meditation before Yom Kippur. I hereby forgive all who have hurt me, all who have done me wrong, whether deliberately or by accident, whether by word or by deed. May no one be punished on my account. As I forgive and pardon fully those who have done me wrong, may those whom I have harmed by word or by deed forgive and pardon me, whether I acted deliberately or by accident. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, my rock and my redeemer. And we'll pause now to remember with reverence the art sites of our beloved departed observed until sundown this evening, 9th day of Tishrei. Joseph Herman Eisenberg, Ethel Fulton, Fanny Gerber, Jerome Goldfein, Bernard Karras, Meyer Kramer, William Leon, Philip Lerman, Donald Levy, Evelyn McDonald, William Mailman, Helen Scissors, Sally Shanbrun, and Kurt B. Zion. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May their righteous memories continue to bring blessing into all of our lives. Together saying to that, Amen. And in solemn testimony to that unbroken chain of faith that we believe links us one generation to the next, those who are in mourning, anyone else, if you are observing yard site, will you please rise? You can find the text of the Mourner's Kaddish, page 247. Page 247, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba. V'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach la'olam u'lamei al-maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha barichu. Leila le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'imru mav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May be seated. Turning back in our Machzorim to page 204, in the middle of that page, traditionally, Kol Nidre service begins with the recitation of this verse, Or Zarua Lat Tzadik, light is sown for the righteous and joy for those whose hearts are true. Middle of page 204. We'll rise together. We can take the towers out. Yeah. enacting a Beit Din, our Chazan, the 2 Sifrei Torah, carried by past presidents. We enact the Beit Din so that we can recite the Kol Nidre prayer. Court meeting on high, court meeting here below. B'yeshiva shel Mala.
B'yeshiva shel Mala.
By the authority of the court on high.
U'b'yeshiva shel Mata.
And the authority of this court below.
Aletat hamakom.
Divine consent.
Ve'aletat hakahal.
Consent of the congregation.
Anu matirin leitpalel im avaryanim.
We are permitted tonight to pray with those who have transgressed.
Yeshiva shel Mala.
By the authority of the court on high.
U'vishiva shel Mata.
And this court below.
Aletat hamakom.
Divine consent.
Ve'aletat hakahal.
Consent of those of us here in the congregation.
Anu matirin leitpalel im havaryanim.
We are permitted with those to pray with those who have gone astray.
Yeshiva shel Mala.
Authority of the court on high.
U'vishiva shel Mata.
And this court here below.
Aletat hamakom.
With God's eyes
Ve'aletat hakahal.
and our eyes.
Anu matirin leitpalel im avaryanim.
Tonight we are permitted to pray with those who have transgressed. Page 205.
Kol Nidre ve'esarei v'charamei ve'konamei ve'chinuyei ve'kinusei מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כל הון יכרתנה והון כל הון יון שרן יון שרן יון שרן שוויתין בתהילין ומבוטלין לשרירין ולקיימין נדרנה la nidre vesarana la esare ushevuatan na la
השתבנה ודאחרים נא ודאחרים נא ודא אסרנה על נפשתנה מיום כיפורים עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כולהון איחרתנה והון כולהון יהון שרן יהון שרן יהון שרן שוויקין שוויתין בתהילין ומבוטלין לשרירין ולקיימין נדרנה וסרנה לאסרי ושבועתה נא לשבוע
Top of page 205, English side, reading together. All vows, renunciations, bans, oaths, formulas of obligation, pledges, and promises that we vow or promise to ourselves and to God from this Yom Kippur to the next, may it approach us for good, we hereby retract. May they all be undone, repealed, canceled, voided, annulled, regarded as neither valid nor binding. Our vows shall not be considered vows, our renunciations shall not be considered renunciations, and our promises shall not be considered promises.
Kol Nidre Vesarei Vacharamei Vekonamei וכינויי וכינוסי ושבועות ודאחרימנה ודסרנה על נפשותנה דינדרנה ודאיש טבענה ודאחרימנה ודאחרימנה ודאסרנה על נפשותנה מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כל העם יחרטנה והון כל הון יון שרן יון שרן יון שרן שוויקין שוויתין בטלין ומבוטלין לשרירין ולקיימין נדרנה לא נדרי וסרנה לא אסרי ושבועתנה לשבות ונסלח לכל הדת Bnei Yisrael El Ager Agar Betocham Ki lechol ha'am B'shegad V'nislach lechol adat B'nei Yisrael V'lager agar betocham Ki lechol ha'am B'shegagah V'nislach lechol adat B'nei Yisrael V'lager agar betocham Ki lechol ha'am B'shegagah Vayomer Adonai Salachti kidvarecha Vayomer Adonai Salachti kidvarecha Vayomer Adonai Salachti kidvarecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Sifrei Torah will be returned to the ark. As soon as the ark is closed, you may be seated. You may be seated. Kol Nidre evening, I always feel a sense of passage of time, maybe in a more poignant way than any other time of the year. I told you on Rosh Hashanah that it's the 25th time I've celebrated high holiday services here at Bethel, so 25 years at Bethel. Believe it or not, with the retirement of Rabbi Wolberg about 6 months ago, and then the retirement of Rabbi Goldstein from Beth Israel congregation, Rabbi Schwartz is now the oldest and longest serving rabbi in Baltimore. The oldest and longest serving rabbi in Baltimore. Thank you. I'm not sure what you're applauding for, but sticking is something we said for sticking it out, right? But other anniversaries as well. Last Shabbos was the 45th anniversary of my bar mitzvah, which is amazing to me. If you follow the news, you probably saw last week I think it was the 50th anniversary of the TV show MASH, the great TV show MASH. 50 years since MASH started, which is also amazing. Remember the nights when everyone in America watched that show. Doesn't seem like it was so long ago. It's 50 years. And you probably also know that in terms of anniversaries, this year is the 75th anniversary of the founding of Bethel congregation. 75 years for Bethel. We are 75 years old. Now, some of you know the history of that 75 years very well. Some of you were actually there at the very beginning. But for those less familiar, I hope you'll indulge me just for a couple of seconds, a moment or two, so I can give you kind of a quick overview, as we would say in Hebrew, al regel achat, standing on one foot, of Bethel's history. So it was in 1948, 75 years ago, that a small group from Beth Tefillah decided to leave BT and to form a congregation intentionally created as a congregation affiliated with the conservative movement. They wanted a couple of things. They wanted men and women to be able to sit together during services. That was important to them. They wanted also a more modern form of Jewish practice and ritual. But at the same time, they wanted very much to retain the traditions that were so important to them. And they saw in that this idea of moving forward with the tradition, but also holding on to the tradition, forward and backward. They saw in that the conservative movement and its approach to Jewish life. They chose the name Bethel Congregation, House of God, and the congregation's very first High Holy Day services took place in a movie theater. Believe it or not, in a movie theater. There was a vending machine at the back that sold little bottles of Coca-Cola. In those days, they were glass bottles. Some of you remember that. Probably sold for a nickel or something like that. And there's an apocryphal story, or maybe it's not apocryphal, of a little boy with a nickel in his pocket, and in the middle of Kol Nidre services, putting that nickel in the vending machine, and the entire congregation turning around as the bottle of Coke tumbled down and tumbled out. It's almost like that Mean Joe Green commercial, right? Sorry to bring up the Steelers, but you know. So Bethel congregation, short time after its founding, the congregation purchases its first plot of land, builds its first building. Anyone know where that was? Hilton and Dorothy Road, right? So you'll know that's sort of what we call like the Ashburton area today. Hilton and Dorothy, that was the first Bethel building. First clergy are hired, Rabbi Jacob Agus, Cantor Saul Hammerman, both of blessed memory. And then with a tremendous amount of foresight, and it seems today, like to us it would be a no-brainer, but at the time it was very, very controversial decision. The Bethel board decided to move the congregation out to this area, Pikesville-Stevenson area. They bought the land here, very controversial at the time. Some people thought they were absolutely crazy to make that move. Bought the land here, built the building that we're sitting in right now, celebrating High Holy Days in 2022. That was 1959 when they started building the building. I think moved into it in 61. Rabbi Mark Loeb came to Bethel in 1976. He was the assistant to Jacob Agus, and he became the senior rabbi in 1980. And it was during the decade of the 80s when Bethel really grew by leaps and bounds and began to resemble the congregation as we see it today. And I often think of the dreams that the founders of the congregation must have had going all the way back to 1948. I mean, imagine that group back in 1948, and they're forming a congregation, and they must have had some thought, some expectation. What's this going to be? What's it going to be 10 years down the road? What's it going to be 20 years down the road? Will it be 30 or 40 or 50 years down the road? And look what we have today. I don't know if they could have imagined. Congregation of 1,500 families, vibrant and creative, 3 rabbis on staff, 2 cantors on staff, director of education, an executive director, a ritual director, not only a Hebrew school, but a preschool, full-fledged adult education program, a soul center, an infant toddler program. I mean, you can just go down the list. 75 years into this journey, here we are, and I would say really in a remarkable, beautiful, incredible place. Now, I'm sharing the history with you tonight a little bit because I feel like it's always important to look back and to think and consider what has been. And looking back is not something that we do a lot of today, and when we do it, I don't think we do it particularly well, because we become, by and large, in our culture, very future-focused. You know, we just want to kind of get there, get out there, get ahead. Because we talk about today, what do we say? We're going to pay it forward. Everybody says paying it forward. What about paying back? You don't pay people back anymore? I mean, paying it forward, right? And if you're in the corporate world, or really any kind of email exchange, in the business world at all, or any place in any kind of organizational life, you see a phrase that's used over and over and over again, moving forward from this. What it says to me is, what happened before this, don't worry about it. Forget it, just cut it out, it's the past, let it go, make a break, and what we're gonna do is just move forward from this point. That's all you have to worry about. But what I would suggest is this. You can't really move forward, at least not in any kind of meaningful way. You can't move forward in any kind of meaningful way unless you look back and you think about what has been and what has come before. I'm guessing some of you are familiar with the name Tom Stoppard. Anyone know who Tom Stoppard is? He's a playwright. From where? From the UK, yeah. Thank you, Michael. So Tom Stoppard, playwright from the UK, considered to be one of the finest playwrights in the world today. Certainly, some would say the finest in the UK. Some say one of the finest in the UK since Shakespeare, okay, which gives you a sense of how highly his talent is thought of. If you follow the theater world at all, you would recognize him probably mostly because of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern is Dead. It's probably his best-known play that he wrote. If you're a movie fan, you would recognize him. He was, I believe, the co-author of Shakespeare in Love. Remember that movie? Won the best Oscar picture, the Oscar for Best Picture in 1998, I think it was. And he co-wrote the screenplay for that film. So Stoppard was born in Czechoslovakia. And when he was born, his name was Tomas Straussler. Okay? He's born to a Jewish family. He's a Jew. So his family fled the Nazis. Ultimately, they settled in the UK, in Berlin. He was born in 1937, means he's 85 years old. The only reason I can do that math so quickly is because my dad was born in 1937, and I know how old he is. He's 85. So Stoppard's now 85. His whole life, and all of the work that he's done, he's never really acknowledged his Judaism. He's never really come to terms with his Jewish roots. And this, despite the fact that all 4 of his grandparents were killed in concentration camps. All 4 of his grandparents killed in concentration camps. He never wrote about Jewish themes in his work. Never touched it. When he was interviewed, many interviews over the years, would never address the fact that he was born as a Jew and grew up, at least part of his life, as a Jew. Never acknowledged it, never wrote about it until now. And his newest play, which opened on Broadway, I think this week, just actually a couple of days ago, is called Leopoldstadt. Leopoldstadt was the name, Michael Leslie will know this, of the Jewish quarter in where, Michael? In Vienna, in the late 1800s in Vienna. So the play tells the story of a well-to-do Jewish family in the Jewish quarter in Vienna, late 1800s. Family has to flee their home because of a series of pogroms. And Stoppard now, being interviewed about this play because it's opening here in New York this week, He has admitted that at the end of the day, it's really an autobiographical play. Yes, it's about a family in Vienna in the late 1800s fleeing from pogroms, but what it's really about is his family in Czechoslovakia in the 1930s fleeing from the Nazis. And the play is intensely connected to Jewish themes, anti-Semitism, Jewish identity, what it means to live a Jewish life, and how difficult it is to live a Jewish life in the modern world. So he's interviewed recently, and he was asked why he never wrestled with his Jewish identity in his work before this play. And this is what he said. This is a direct quote. He said, "My mother essentially drew a line and didn't look back. My name was changed," right? He went from Straussler to Stoppard. "I was British, began to love England in every sense. I don't recall consciously resisting finding out about myself. It was worse than that. I actually wasn't interested. I was never curious enough. I just looked one direction. I just looked forward, only forward." In Stoppard's life, when he only looked forward, he couldn't live as a Jew. To live as a Jew, you have to also be able to look back to your past. He looked forward, he couldn't understand his own history, didn't have a sense of his own roots, but he began to realize that to fully understand who he was, he had to look both backwards and forwards, and to grapple with the past that he had as a Jew and his family, their past, as a Jewish family, even though it was a painful past. And once he did that, once he was looking back and forward as well, in that moment, he could become a complete person, and also he could become a Jew and live his life as a Jew in a meaningful kind of way. It's the same for Judaism, it's the same for Jewish community. I would say it's the same for Jewish life and Jewish identity. It has to be both about the past and the future. You know, in professional Jewish life, we have a problem today, I think. We're always focusing on the future. It's all we want to do is just move ahead. We're worried about the generations to come. Okay, I understand that. It's fine, we have to do that. We're worried about what kind of Jewish lives our children are going to live. We're worried about what kind of Jewish lives our grandchildren are going to live. Okay, I understand that as well. And often we're making decisions in the Jewish community, in professional, organizational Jewish life, based on either the present, you know, what's going on right now, this second, or based on the future, how we think things are going to be, looking 5 or 10 or 15 years down the road. But I would argue that you can't make a Jewish future without thinking about, without taking into account the Jewish past. You can't only look forward when you're trying to sustain Jewish life, you have to look backward as well. Why? Because the future has to be built on something. You can't build a future on nothing. Future needs a foundation, and the past becomes that foundation. I mean, that's what the High Holy Days are all about. You're sitting here tonight, it's Kol Nidre. You're going to come back to shul. I hope you'll come back to shul tomorrow, and you'll sit here tomorrow. It's a long day tomorrow. A lot of time to think. What do you think about when you're in shul on Yom Kippur? You think a little bit about what's the year going to be like. You think an awful lot about what's the year been like, the year that's just ending. How did I do? What was my life like? Was it a good year? Was it a bad year? That's what we do on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And if we do that work well, and we do that work wisely, we understand in those moments that our pasts inform our futures and guide us into the year that is ahead. You know, I'm who I am because of my history. I tell people all the time, the most defining thing in my life is that I grew up in a small town in upstate New York. Second most defining thing in my life, the way I was raised by my parents and the morals and values that they taught me that guide me every single day. I'm who I am because of conversations I had with my bubby, by the way. When I was growing up, I was a teenager, and she explained to me in her delicate, maybe not so delicate, but she explained to me in her way how important it is to live life as a Jew. I'm who I am because I played soccer in high school. I'm who I am because of friends I made in college. I am who I am because I studied Talmud in rabbinical school. You're who you are because of all of the experiences that you've had in your life. Those experiences are in the past, and you carry them with you every single day. If you took those experiences away, who would you be? If I took those experiences away, who would I be? And I'm a rabbi today, 25 years into this. Honestly, the rabbi I am is largely because of all of you. It's because of the history that we've created. In 25 years, it's a lot of years. Sometimes they've been hard years. Sometimes they've been tough moments. Some of them have been really, really painful that we've shared together. Some of them have been incredible, beautiful, filled with joy, an unbelievable celebration. I'm the rabbi I am because of what you taught me in my time that I've been here, because of conversations that we've had together over the years, because of trips that we've taken together to Israel or to Eastern Europe, because of the wisdom and the kindness and the generosity of this congregation and of its lay leadership with whom I'm privileged to work every single day. That's why I'm the rabbi that I am. And we're the congregation that we are today, 75 years into this journey, 75 years, because 75 years ago, our founders had a vision of what a congregation could become and of how Jewish life could be lived in a modern world. We're the congregation we are today because of Rabbi Agus and Rabbi Loeb and Cantor Hammerman, and because of all those who have worked incredibly hard over the last 75 years to make Bethel the kind of place of which we feel proud every single day. We're the kind of congregation we are today because of the lay leaders who continue the vision that the founders found together 75 years ago of creating an open and vibrant and welcoming congregation where Judaism could be lived with deep meaning. So, as we embark the 75th year of celebration together, let's look back on our history. I hope we can do that with a lot of gratitude and a lot of wisdom and a lot of feeling, looking back on all the people who helped Bethel to become what it is today. And let's also look forward, knowing that as we begin the next 75 years, I'll be long retired, but you know what I mean, the next 75 years of our journey together as a congregation, that we will stand together tomorrow and for many years to come on a foundation that is filled both with meaning and also with faith. So I hope and pray this is a good year for all of us, for each and every one of us gathered here tonight, for all those who will gather tomorrow here in Shul, for our families, for our friends, and for Bethel, for our congregation, our 75th year. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, as we say. And in this new year, and for many years to come, let us together always be strong. L'shana Tovah, it should be a sweet year. Cantor Leslie's stepping up, so I guess it's time to start Marav services.
You're doing great. You can keep going.
All right. So far. So in our Machzorim on page 207, we'll please rise together for Baruch Hu, page 207.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam V'ed.
May be seated. On page 207, English side, we'll continue with responsive reading by line. Responsive reading by line. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, ruler of time and space,
Whose words bring the evening dusk,
whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky,
who creates day and night,
who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light,
who makes the day pass into night,
who distinguishes day from night,
and so is your name.
living and ever-present God. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk.
Umavir yom, umevil laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam vaed, Baruch atah Adonai, Amariv, Aravi.
Page 208.
Avat olamim.
Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim,
Ki em chayenu ve'orech yameinu, uvaem negei yamam v'layla, v'avatcha v'al tasir mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. V'hayu advarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha. V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. Shiftecha b'veitecha u'vlachtecha v'derech shochvecha uvkumecha. Ukshartam la'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha. Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. You may be seated, continuing with the Shema's middle paragraph, page 209. And on page 209, English side, reading together, second paragraph. Therefore, impress these words of mine upon your heart and upon your soul. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a symbol above your eyes. Teach them to your children, speaking of them when you sit in your home, when you walk on your way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Scribe them upon the doorposts of your home and on your gates. Then the length of your days and the days of your children on the land that Adonai swore to give to your ancestors will be as the days of the heavens over the earth. Shema's third paragraph.
Adonai Elohim Amen.
On page 210, middle of that page, Hebrew side.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא תהילות עושה פלא מלכותך ראו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה זה ליאנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גול ישראל.
Amen. on page 211, the English side will read responsibly. Allow us, Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully and to waken again to life, our sovereign.
Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name.
Shield us, remove from us enemies and pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us.
Your wings. For you, God, watch over and deliver us, and you are the sovereign, merciful, and compassionate.
Ensure our going and coming for life and peace now and forever.
May you spread over us your canopy of peace.
Baruch
Baruch
atah
atah
Adonai,
who
spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people Israel, over Yerushalayim.
ופרס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Page 212.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם,
Amen.
בעלמא יברך חירותי, ימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יש מי רבם מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשא בריחו, לילה לילה, מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמיה, ואמרו Amen.
Rising together, the evening Amida for Yom Kippur begins on page 213, concludes on page 221, and is recited quietly. Quiet prayer beginning page 213. you're still davening, I would encourage you to take your time until you feel you have completed your prayers. We will turn together to page 223 for the Ya'aleh. Interesting and unusual, unique, actually, liturgical structure for Kol Nidre Eve. Traditionally, evening Amida is not repeated out loud. We are not repeating the Amida out loud, but sections of Amidot that will be repeated tomorrow, we say out loud tonight. Sort of a quasi-repetition, if you will. On page 223 with Ya'aleh.
יעלה תחנוננו מערב ויבוא שבתנו מבוקר וירא רנוננו עד ערב יעלה קולנו מערב ויבוא צדקתנו מבוקר וירא פדיוננו עד ערב יעלה עינוינו מערב ויבוא סליחתנו מבוקר וירא נאקתנו עד ערב יעלה מנוסנו מערב ויבוא למענו מבוקר וירא כיפורנו עד ערב יעלה ישענו מערב ויבוא תורנו מבוקר וירא חינוננו עד ערב יעלה זיכרוננו מערב ויבוא ויורנו מבוקר וירא הדרתנו עד ערב יעלה דופקנו מערב ויבוא גילנו מבוקר וירא בקשתנו עד ערב יעלה אנקתנו מערב ויבוא אליך מבוקר וירא אלינו עד ערב.
On page 225, English side, we'll continue with responsive reading. 225, English side, reading responsively. We come before you relying on who you are. You are known as gracious, compassionate God. Your way is to be patient with sinners, not only with the righteous. That is the source of our praise for you. Grant relief to this driven leaf. Have compassion on that which is but dust and ashes. On page 226.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Nozeh avon v'pesha v'chata v'nakeh v'salach l'avonotneinu ulchatatenu unchaltanu סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחלנו מלכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח, ורב חסד לכל קורך.
Variety of metaphors that the Machzor uses to try to help us understand our relationship with God. We see God as parent, God as sovereign, and also God as creator, which is the metaphor that the Machzor uses for God in Ki Hine Kachomer, page 227.
כי הנה כחומר ביד היוצר, ברצותו מרחיב וברצותו מקצר, כן אנחנו בידך חסד נוצר, לברית הבט, לברית הבט, ואל תפן ליצר. כי הנה כאבן ביד המסתת, ברצותו אוחז וברצותו מחרטט, כן אנחנו בידך מחיה וממוטט, לברית הבט, לברית הבט, ואל תפן ליצר. כי הנה כגרזן ביד החרש, ברצותו בידי בגלר וברצותו פירש, כן אנחנו בידך תומך נברש, לברית הבט, לברית הבט, ואל תפן ליצר. כי הנה כהגה ביד המלאך, ברצותו אוחז וברצותו שילח, כן אנחנו בידך אל טוב ושל צלח, לברית הבט, לברית הבט, ואל תפן ליצר. כי הנה כזכוכית ביד המזגג, ברצותו חוגג וברצותו ממוגג, כן אנחנו בידך מוכל זדון ושגג, לברית הבט, לברית הבט, ואל תפן ליצר. כי הנה כירייה ביד הרוקם, ברצותו מיישר וברצותו מעקם, כן אנחנו בידך אלקנו ונוקם, לברית הבט, לברית הבט, ואל תפן ליצר. כי הנה ככסף ביד הצורף, ברצותו משגשג וברצותו מצרף, כן אנחנו בידך ממציא למזור טרף, לברית הבט, לברית הבט, ואל תפן ליצר.
Turning together to page 233, Shema Kolenu, the ark will be open, we'll rise together. Page 233.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu. V'kabel v'rachamim uv'ratzon et tefilateinu. V'kabel v'rachamim uv'ratzon Hashivenu Adonai Lecha v'nashuva Kaddish Yameinu Kedem Hashivenu Adonai Lecha v'nashuva Kaddish Yameinu Kedem. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Al tashlichenu milevanecha beruach kodshecha al tika mimenu al tashlichenu milevanecha beruach kodshecha al tikach mimenu. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Al tashlichenu le'eit zikna kichlot choreinu al tazbeinu. Al tashlichenu le'eit zikna kichlot choreinu al tazbeinu. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
We're seated as we turn to page 234, Ki Anu Amecha.
Eloheinu v'Eloi Avotenu v'Imotenu, Selach lanu mechalanu, kabelanu, Ki Anu Amecha ve'ata Eloheinu, Anu v'Amecha ve'ata Avinu, Anu Avadecha ve'ata Adonenu, Anu Kahalecha ve'ata Chelkeinu, Anu Nachalatecha ve'ata Goraleinu, Anu Tzonecha ve'ata Roveinu, Anu Chalmecha ve'ata Notreinu, Anu Feilatecha ve'ata Yotreinu, Anu Rayatecha ve'ata Dodeinu, Anu Zikulatecha ve'ata Groveinu, Anu Amecha ve'ata Malkeinu, Anu Ma'amirecha ve'ata Ma'amireinu.
Turning to page 235, and we'll rise. First list of sins, the Ashamnu.
Ay, 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 ay. Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Azalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Divarnu Dofi,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Vehirshanu,
Irshanu,
Zadnu,
Adnu,
חמסנו,
Amasnu,
טפלנו שקט,
Afalnu Sheket.
ay, 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 yatnu ra,
Yatsnu Ra,
kizavnu,
Izavnu,
latnu,
Atsnu,
maradnu,
Aradnu,
niyatnu,
Yatsnu,
sararnu,
Ararnu,
avinu,
Avinu,
pashanu,
Ashanu,
sararnu,
Ararnu,
kishinu oref.
Ishinu Ore,
Ay, 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 rashanu,
Ashanu,
shichatnu,
Ichatnu,
tiavnu,
Iavnu,
tainu,
Ainu,
titanu.
Itanu,
Ay, 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 ay.
And we'll remain standing as we turn to page 237 for the Al Chet.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באונס וברצון, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בבלי דעת, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בביטוי שפתים, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי עריות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בדעת ובמרמה, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בדיבור פה, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהונאת ריאה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהרהור הלב, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בוועידת זנות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בווידוי פה, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזלזול הורים ומורים, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזדון ובשגגה, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחוזק יד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחילול השם, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בטומאת שפתיים, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בטיפשות פה, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביצר הרע, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביודעים ובלא יודעים, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, הפל לנו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, הפל לנו.
The English side will continue with responsive reading. We have sinned against you through denial and deceit.
And we have sinned against you by taking bribes.
We have sinned against you by clever cynicism.
And we have sinned against you by speaking ill of others.
We have sinned against you by the way we do business.
And we have sinned against you in our eating and drinking.
We have sinned against you by greed and oppressive interest.
And we have sinned against you through arrogance.
We have sinned against you in everyday conversation.
And we have sinned against you through conspiratorial glances.
We have sinned against you through condescension.
Sinned against you through stubbornness.
For all these sins, forgiving God, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו. החטא שחטאנו לפניך בפריקת עול, ועל החטא שחטאנו לפניך בפלילות, ועל החטא שחטאנו לפניך בצדיעת ריח, ועל החטא שחטאנו לפניך בצרות עין, על החטא שחטאנו לפניך בקלות ראש, ועל החטא שחטאנו לפניך בקשיות עורף, על החטא שחטאנו לפניך בריצת רגליים להרע, ועל החטא שחטאנו לפניך ברכילות, על החטא שחטאנו לפניך בשבועת שווא, ועל החטא שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם, על החטא שחטאנו לפניך בתשומת יד, ועל החטא שחטאנו לפניך בתימהון לבב, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו.
Turning together, page 243, the Avinu Malkeinu, the ark will be open, will remain standing. Page 243.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu, ve'al oleinu, v'tapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale daber, v'cherev v'ra'av, me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale chol tsar, u'mastin, me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu v'sefer chaim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Kaddish aleinu, Kaddish aleinu. Shana tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kaddish aleinu, Shana tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu mazim. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed,
As the ark is closed, you may be seated. Full Kaddish on page 245.
יתקרל ויתקדש שמי רבם, בעולמות יברח ריבותינו ומלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו. לילה לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעולמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותהון ובאותהון דכל ישראל קודם אבוהון דברי שמעיה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמעיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
On page 246, Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות הרמוע, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש שהוא מדשמיים.
May be seated.
כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Pausing now, we'll remember with reverence the yard sites of our beloved departed, observed sundown this evening till sundown tomorrow evening, 10th day of Tishrei. Ruth Lindner Barth, Abraham Simon Berlin, Lucille Kogan, Milton Mickey Cohen, Leo J. Farkas, William Forchheimer, Rose Friedler, Lillian Goldberg, Isidore J. Gradman, Sarah Jane Grant, Gershon Huddles, Michael Jaffe, J. Allen Kalman, Mitchell L. Katz, Mitchell Lackow, Adolph Lindner, Ida Maisie, Barney Offit, Leroy A. Posner, Bertram Rudy, Edward M. Thompson, Eva Zinker-Wurtzer, and Solomon Zinker-Wurtzer. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May their righteous memories continue to bring blessing into all of our lives together, saying to that, Amen. And in solemn testimony to that unbroken chain of faith, those in mourning, those observing yahrzeit, will you please rise? Mourner's Kaddish, page 247, 247, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbi, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbi mevorach la'olam u'lalmei maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha borichu. Leila u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'imrumav hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May be seated. Yom Kippur is understood as, in rabbinic literature, Yoma Arichta means one long day of prayer, one long day of fasting. That is more significantly seen in changes in the liturgy tomorrow. So you'll notice tomorrow, Aleinu is not recited throughout the day until the very end of the day, till Ne'ilah itself. We do say Aleinu tonight, however, which we just did, but that sense of one long day. And if you think of Yom Kippur, we begin with a long standing together. That's Kol Nidre. We stand together for Kol Nidre. And we end Yom Kippur with another long standing, which is Ne'ilah. So we hope you'll be with us tomorrow evening for Ne'ilah. Schedule of services, Shacharit services beginning at 9:30. Rabbi Sorokin will be standing here tomorrow morning, and I'll be in the Berman Reuben Sanctuary. A couple folks said to me, what are you doing in this room? It's actually the third year I'm in the room, so I guess shows you the impression. But anyway, and I was here with Michael Leslie for many, many years before. Yeah, it's always wonderful to be back here in the Offit with all of you folk. So 9:30 tomorrow morning. Yizkor will be recited tomorrow, probably about 11:15, give or take 15 minutes. So 11:15 will be Yizkor. And then intermission for the afternoon, beginning about 1:45, 2 o'clock, there'll be a break. Coming back together in the afternoon, it's all open seating in the Berman Reuben Sanctuary, beginning at 3:30 with an open forum. And then the Martyrology, 4:15, Mincha at 4:45, Ne'ilah scheduled to begin at 5:45, Marav at 7:05, and sounding of the shofar, conclusion of Yom Kippur tomorrow evening, 7:25. So I'm hoping to see you both tomorrow morning and tomorrow evening. It's very, very beautiful to be together at the end of the day after a long day of prayer and fasting, and to come together as community and conclude the most sacred day in our calendar as a congregation, as a community. Tonight we'll conclude singing Yigdal, which you can find on page 250.
Yigdal Elohim Chai Ve'ishtabach Nimtza V'nei El Metziuto Echad Ve'en Yachid Ke'ichodo Ne'elam Ve'gam Imtzav Le'achduto Ein Demut haguf ve'ein haguf lanaroch elav kedushato kadmon lechol davar Hashem nivra rishon ve'ein reshit lereshito Inno Adon Olam V'chol Notzar Yoreh Gedulato U'malchuto Shefan Nevuato Netano El Anshei Segulato V'tifarto לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד נביא ומביט את אמונתו תורת אמת נתן לעם אוהל על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דעתו לעולם אם לזולתו צופה ויודע ותראינו מביט לסוף דבר בקדמתו גומל לאיש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לראש הרע כרישתו. ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו, לפתות מחקקת ישועתו. מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו. מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו. יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
May the Lord bless you and protect you.
יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך.
May the Lord show you kindness and be gracious to you.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם אליך שלום.
Bestowing favor upon you, granting you peace.
Amen.
Gemar Chatima Tova, Tzom Kal. We should be inscribed for a good year, easy, peaceful, and meaningful fast.
Nice talking. I'm losing. I will remember from this.
Thanks, boss. Be with you every year.
Now, him I remember from last year.
That's
You
good.
should take
If
this
you
guy.
If you don't remember him, I'd be worried. I'd be worried.
He used to take, he's Mark. His name's Mark.
See, I wasn't your kryptonite.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
Eddie.
I swear that Torah gets heavier every year.
You know what was happening? He told me to put it up on the,
Right.
my arm was going to say, I was pressing up here, it was nerve that went. Guys, President's Torah Shuffle is canceled. I don't like it. It makes me nervous. That's why I held it, but the only problem when I held it, my hand was getting real small. Yeah, it's really tilting.
I can't move him from the
Guys,
right
I know
foot
you don't
to the left.
understand, but for me to watch it gives me the anxiety. I don't need it.
I was ready to catch Michael.
I've seen it. I've seen it twice. It is not pretty. It's not worth it. You don't want to see it. Let's not put ourselves in risky situations if we don't have to.
You always got to
I'm the young guy. Huh? I'm the young guy. I don't like it. We can discuss it. You don't like anything. That's not true. This is unnecessary. When you get to the area, that's what will be no use to you. If you want to be able to read that scroll, probably be disintegrated. Well done, everybody. Well done. Hey! You saw me back there? I did a good job. Good. I saw that. That was it. That's all.